you pay a couple dollars for this, or you can pay a couple dollars, get a jar of pickles, you eat the pickles, and then you get a glass jar with a lid. It's brilliant. It's kind of a no-brainer. Hey, what's up, guys? Steve here. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. It involves the Jeep. It involves a little bit of, I guess you could call it, science. Basically, if you've ever had rusty bolts that just end up getting rusty and they just look gross, what do? I mean, yeah, you could replace them, but where's the fun in that? I've got some pretty gnarly looking license plate bulbs. Let's take a look. Those are some pretty yucky and rusty bolts. Let's take a look at the front. Also pretty rusty. So we are gonna take those bolts, clean them up. We're gonna make them, for the most part, pretty much rust free. We're gonna make science happen. And how do I know that this is gonna work? How do I know that using science with heat and oil is gonna make these things not rust? Let me show you. We're looking under the Jeep. Why? Because I did this under the Jeep already on a couple bolts. So taking a look, that guy right there, that guy, and along with, is it that one? Maybe it's that one? Yeah, I think it's that one. You should have seen these things. These things were, whoo, they were really bad. Ooh, that's dirty. It's a waterless wash. It's still cold here. Got an ice cube in there. Good as new. Yeah, look at how gross these are. Gotta love New England salty weather. Okay, let's get to the front. Alright, so moving on, we're going to go back into the garage and start the fix for this. We're going to start the fix. The first part to being a DIY guy is to have a filthy workbench. The next step, you should have a lot of these. Pickle jars. Keep the lids. I've got pickle jars. And I'm knocking things over. Make sure you have a lot of pickle jars. Why? Because you never know what you need to put in some type of container, and plastic isn't always, it's not always going to work, because you could be dealing with solvents. You could be dealing with something like acetone. We're not using that right now, but acetone will eat through this in like 5 seconds. You could also get one of these little painters mixing containers. This will handle solvents. That'll be just fine. You pay a couple dollars for this, or you can pay a couple dollars, get a jar of pickles, you eat the pickles, and then you get a glass jar with a lid. It's brilliant. It's kind of a no-brainer. Next up, get yourself some of this. I'm not sponsored by Evaporust. This stuff here, what's great about this, it's literally super safe. I wouldn't say you could drink it. It's pretty much as good as it can get as far as not killing you. It does have a caution there. I don't think I've ever rinsed my hands. I've never put this stuff in my eye. I don't think I've ever done that. Who cares? Get yourself some of this stuff. So what are we doing? Pickle jar. Okay. These are our bolts that we're working with. Screws. These are our screws. Put them in the jar. Cool. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need much. Now, the importance of this is you just let it sit overnight. I'm adding a little bit more so that you can see. Oh, the other thing that's great about Evaporust, it's reusable. So when you're done with this, pour it right back in the container. So those guys are gonna hang out. I'm not even gonna shake that between now and tomorrow. So we'll come back after these have some time to unrust, derust, rust remove themselves. Then I'll show you the next part of this science that we're going to be doing. Well, this is science part 1. Part 2 science tomorrow is going to be fun. For you, it's going to be in like 5 seconds or less.
The next day.
And we're back. The Evaporust has had almost 24 hours of work. You'll start to see it's really started to break down. I haven't touched it at all since last night. I poured it, and that was it. So from when you saw it like 10 seconds ago, nothing has changed as far as, like, I didn't stir it, I didn't shake it. Let's check it out. Just look at how dirty all that is. Just look at that.
Would you look at that? Just look at it.
Look at all the flakes and the chunks.
Just look at it.
Because you've saved all these pickle jars, now get yourself a tasty strainer and pour it right in. And make a mess when you do that too. It's all part of how you do this. So what we need to do now is just gotta rinse them with water, and we'll see what they look like once they're dry. Alright, so we're just gonna dry these off. Anytime you're working with a wire wheel, you want to make sure that you wear eye protection. This is just an example right here. These are two pieces right here. Two pieces of wire that has just flung out of the wire wheel just as you use it. So these things fly out like crazy. Let's get started. So this is honestly just a really inexpensive wire wheel. I want to get a better one. This one, it's not that great. It spins at a decent speed, but as soon as you put any type of load on it, it slows down. So if you're gonna buy one of these, get a good one, not some cheap little Harbor Freight half horsepower. It was like $30 or something. Spend the money and get a good one. You can already tell it's starting to get some shine to it, right? It looks pretty good. Not too bad. Not perfect. Maybe it needs a little bit more on the inside. I just got pelted by a wire on my hand. Safety first. We got 4 more to do. I'm sorry, 3. We have a total of 4. So for a comparison, we have 4 nice, bright, crispy license plate bolts. We are now ready for the cool part, or I should say the hot part. Still got to make sure that you wear your safety glasses because we are dealing with fire. So the idea behind this is you heat up the metal. In this case, our metal is the screw. So we're going to heat this up till it gets cherry red, and we're going to quench it in oil. This is what they did back in the day, which was probably a Wednesday. They would heat up the metal till it was red hot, quench it in oil, and then the oil would end up penetrating into the metal. Doing so, it will blacken the screw. It'll make it a nice dark color. That will end up keeping your bolt, screw, I realize I'm calling it all different kinds of things. This thing, it's going to keep it, for the most part, rust proof. Now, why am I doing this exactly with my license plate bolts? Say there are some Jeep parts that you need a new bolt for, and you have it, it's just rusty, and you want to replace it. You go to Jeep, the dealer is going to quote you like $6 or $7 for one bolt. Well, you could just go through this process, and so far this hasn't really cost me anything. But anyways, let's get started. You don't need a whole lot, just enough. So I'm just using an old cat food tin. It's really only the head part that we really care about. So with it on, you want to slowly rotate it, turn it around a little bit. You can start to see it's getting red. I'm going to turn this light off over here. Alright, now we're good. Gonna turn the heat off. Drop it in the oil. Get ready for this. You should smell that right now. It smells like burnt oil because it is burnt oil. You ever follow a car that's burning oil? Well, that's what it smells like. Alright, so we're gonna give that a second. Let that hang out in there.
A few moments later.
Now the fun part, trying to fish it out. Okay, that's one down. Boom. That's 3. We are left with a nice black finish. Now it turns dark because of the oil as it penetrates into the metal when it is cooled during the quenching process. If you use used motor oil, it makes it darker. So if you use fresh stuff, there's even people that use like olive oil too. Literally, you could use just food, cooking oil of any type, maybe not coconut. That stuff is hard until it gets hot. So all we've done is just one super hot quench. What I want to do is I want to heat it up till it gets almost cherry. Drop it in. Not drop it, but dip it. Take it out, heat it again, dip it. And do that about 6 times. So we already did one deep one. I'm going to do that a bunch more times. I'm hoping that that will improve the weather protection, the rust proofing of the metal. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Just barely getting cherry. And then dip. And then back in the fire. Okay, so we did that 6 times. We're just gonna let this guy hang out over in this tin. So we're gonna do that 6 times on the remaining 3. I lost track. I think that might have been 5, so that would make this 6. So that's only 2 down. I got 2 to go. I think I'm gonna do the other 2 off camera. So that's the result, guys. Now these guys, they're still pretty hot. They're also pretty oily, so I'm gonna let these sit as they are for a little while. May end up keeping them like this overnight. I have nowhere to go. This right here, this is very cold. You see all that condensation that's built up off of it? So you remember in science class, elementary school, they're talking about gas, and when you release gas, it gets really cold. Released a lot of gas doing that. This thing was probably burning for maybe a total of 20 minutes. This, it's pretty cold. It's not quite freezing, but it's certainly pretty close to it. Actually, is that? It's even condensating down there too. But anyways, yep, so that's pretty cold. These guys are pretty hot, and we're gonna let them hang out like that overnight. For you, 5 seconds. For me, many hours.
The next day.
Morning, guys. It's tomorrow, and we have a license plate to put on. So these guys have been sitting here since last night. Gonna take them out, dry them up just a little bit, then we're gonna put them on the car. So that's how you do it, guys. That is how you make your bolts. Your bolts, you can do that with nuts, any type of metal. Think open-minded. Do you have any proprietary, I guess you could call it, screws that you just can't easily find that are starting to get rusty? Nuts, bolts, something that could be really expensive that you don't really want to spend that kind of money to get a replacement, not easily findable. You know, say they don't make a nut and bolt anymore. It's still perfectly fine, it's just rusty. You want to make it look nice again, or just, you know, keep it from rusting again. Then this is the technique that I suggest, giving it a nice hot bath in some oil. You can see they look pretty good. Yeah, the license plate itself has a little bit of leftover rust residue. If I wanted to, I could clean that up a little bit more, but it's just a license plate. I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out my Instagram, IAmBigSteveoDIY, for any and all of your favorite DIY projects. I post updates, new content, future projects, talking about all new stuff that I might be doing, or even just current stuff. Check out the Instagram. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'm gonna be posting some really cool stuff. So hope you enjoyed the video. Recommend it, share it out to your friends, and we'll see you in the next video.